Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, January 30th, 2025. I'm Dave Neal, and this is your morning rush hour ride to work. Here are all the stories we're going to be getting to you here for your drive. The first is this tragic plane crash. Just so you guys know, we record this podcast episode late Wednesday night, not to pull back the fourth wall, so I don't have all of the information. I'm sure other sources have more information. Fingers are crossed, but it's not looking good. We'll also discuss Bachelorette Claire taking a victory lap after the Rachel Kirkconnell-Matt James breakup. Colleen Hoover back in the news, the writer of It Ends With Us, and you're not going to believe the story we have to share with you revolving around Blake Lively, Baldoni, what I was going to call him James, Justin Baldoni, the Baldoni, and Ryan Reynolds. There is new theories coming out that Colleen Hoover might have had more to do with the attempts to rip the rights away from him. All right. After that, we'll discuss, is justice for Clayton done? Quick answer, no. But we will get into why some people are questioning that. And also, the Mona Lisa is moving. The Louvre is undergoing some renovations, so I'll share that story. The perfect time for an antiquities thief to possibly swipe the artwork. Don't do it. I'm just saying, it feels like one of those Ocean's 15 movies ready to go. And also, I've reached 100,000 subs on YouTube. I will end this episode with my heartfelt thanks to all of you amazing people. All these stories and so much more coming up next on The Rush. Now, sadly, I hate to start off with a story of tragedy, and there's a lot of information we don't yet know about this crash in midair, but fatalities are confirmed after a passenger plane crashes with an Army Black Hawk helicopter. 64 people collided midair with a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter. A passenger aircraft carrying 64 people collided. I don't have much information regarding this story as it's developing. Like I said in the intro, we record this around, normally around midnight Central Standard Time, so there's more developing. But here's what the local Fox News had to say regarding the crash. And if you're watching on YouTube, this is a very long distance video of this. So nothing up close here, but it's looking like an absolute tragic moment.
And listening right now to WTTG, we're now taking over to show you this. This is video from the Kennedy Center camera, and you see that explosion right there. That is the moment when this small plane apparently crashed into a helicopter. You see a fireball.
All right, so it's a real tragedy, especially completely preventable. Now, I don't know any of the details, but we've been talking about the issue with how many near misses there have been at airports in this country in the last couple of years. I don't know all the details. We'll continue to cover this story. We'll definitely have more on the afternoon rush. I got to make a hard pivot from this. I know it's a heavy story to start with, but this is going to be something that probably dominates the news today. Claire Crowley, former guest of my podcast and former Bachelorette, discusses her response to Bachelor Matt James dumping Rachel Kirkconnell. Here's Claire Crowley taking the victory lap. Catching up on SoCal News, SoCal News, and shaking my head at some of this stuff. I think she meant social news. Remembering that one time I specifically asked producers to please stop allowing one specific guy on my season because I knew for a fact he was not looking for a serious relationship whatsoever, and I didn't want him to waste anyone's time. So instead, they made him the next Bachelor. Listen, okay, I totally respect how Claire always interjects herself into ongoing stories with regard to this, like Matt James. It's so funny. He was supposed to be on her season, but because they paused due to the early stages of the pandemic, they actually ended up naming him the next Bachelor. So he leapfrogged Claire's season, but Claire had beef with him, called him out for doing cameos, but it turns out he was donating the money to charity. Either way, I don't think Matt James was there for the wrong reasons. I think he's just got issues involving maybe settling down. That's, like most men in their 20s and early 30s, I think that's the case. But either way, hilarious that she felt the need to dunk on him. All right, let's get into it. Should we do it? Let's just get right into the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni story. There's so much to get into here. This is a Reddit post that was unearthed from 6 months ago. So much has happened in the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni story. It's impossible to sort of articulate the timeline right here, right now. But 6 months ago was still before, that was when people were kind of having their initial rumblings about why is the cast not following Justin Baldoni? And it was kind of like a sort of a gossip of lore. It was lore about It Ends With Us. Well, now we can see that whatever this person had to say, it was piping hot. They had all the information, so I'm going to read it. The title is OMG, Reddit post from alleged It Ends With Us insider from 6 months ago claimed Blake Lively accused Justin Baldoni of sexual harassment and threatened to go to the New York Times after Sony told her no on movie edits, revealing Taylor Swift's alleged role in the drama. Now, you might say, well, could this prove that Blake Lively was actually sexually harassed? Well, I mean, it depends on the timeline. I don't think so. I think what it might prove is that they were trying to do this behind the scenes. This was a hostile takeover, possibly trying to be done not in the public's eye. And boy, did that backfire, So here it is. I know a lot of the inside drama for It Ends With Us, and I just don't know who to share it with, so here we are. I'm obviously using a throwaway, but I know someone who worked in the movie for most of its run who would have gotten these details piping hot, not some grapevine situation. They told me firsthand what they know. I'll give bullet points. Oh, we love a good bullet point. Supposedly, Blake felt that Justin made her uncomfortable on set. One instance in particular, they said, was that Justin told Blake she looked sexy in what she was wearing on set. I don't know the context around it. Apparently, Justin wasn't happy with the original editor's cut of the movie, so he hired his own team to do his version of the movie. Blake wanted to do her own version of the movie as a result, but Sony said no. Blake goes to Sony and threatens to go to the New York Times with a story that says Justin was sexually harassing her on set if they don't let her have her own version. Sony freaks out and says, okay, whatever you want. Justin is banned from the Sony lot, I don't think forever, just for the run of the movie, but I could be wrong. Blake hires Taylor Swift's music video editors to do her version while she's filming in Italy for something. Blake has a friend, and I think she was filming in Italy for that other movie that's in post-production with Anna Kendrick. Blake has a friends and family screening to get thoughts with lots of A-listers, Ben Affleck, Bradley Cooper, etc. Everyone is like, question marks, this movie makes no effing sense. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Blake realizes she needs to hire an experienced film editor to fix it. Blake uses a Taylor Swift song in the movie that the studio loves having in there. Taylor Swift finds out that the original composer for the movie is someone she worked with in the past that was mean to her, and she says it's either me or him. Sony fires that composer to keep the Taylor Swift song. I think that's everything I know. Now, take it with a grain of salt, but it's a pretty interesting grain of salt, to say the least, because a lot of the things that this person said 6 months ago, we now know to be true. So this insider clearly had inside information. It doesn't show any evidence to the claims that Blake was making about sexual harassment, but what it does show is that it was a pretty well-known claim she was making at that time, which is no surprise. And no one thinks that she pulled these claims out of her ass. I mean, she, in order to come back onto the set, had them sign that, 17-point, whatever it was, a bullet point list of things she required for a happy and healthy set. So we don't learn too much, but we do get information that there are insiders that were discussing everything that was going down. Now, how does Colleen Hoover fit into this? Well, there is, I guess, a new theory that maybe Colleen Hoover was one of the people looking to wrestle the rights to the film away from Justin. Again, if she's assuming Blake's telling the truth, which she still might be, then maybe she sees the dollar signs and realizes how much money the film's going to make. Now, obviously, as the initial writer of the book, I'm sure she's getting a percentage of the deal anyway. But for future versions of the movie, they were going to have a sequel. That's not going to happen anymore. You might think, hey, maybe Colleen, maybe there's a reason she was attaching her side to the Blake Lively, ticket, like all the other actors would be. But if you were an actor on this movie and Blake was making these claims, wouldn't you also want to back Blake? I mean, you don't want to doubt in somebody making those claims, especially someone who's kind of got that A-list, star power to them. I just think this story is so interesting, and we're going to have more to cover. I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back with an update on the court update that's happening next week regarding this story. So stick around. We'll be back right after this. I mean, could we have picked a better week to have a therapist as our sponsor? Today's podcast is sponsored by Rula. Finding a therapist you trust shouldn't be so complicated or cost you a fortune. Rula connects you with high-quality, vetted, licensed mental health professionals that are suited for you. And here's the best part. They take most major insurance plans. That means instead of paying hundreds out of pocket, you could pay as little as $15 per month. Rula also supports you every step of the way, from finding a therapist to scheduling your sessions to tracking your progress and dealing with insurance. They make it happen. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey towards improved mental health and overall well-being. Head on over to rula.com/rushhour to get started today. After you sign up, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show. Tell them our show sent you. Go to rula.com/rushhour and take the first step towards better mental health today. So for those that are new here, the morning rush and the afternoon rush are a sort of collaborative effort. There's lots of stories. I share people's TikToks. I share the news. I share my own thoughts. So it's not really a think piece like we get midday. I'm just letting you know that because there's more to the Blake Lively story that we just can't get to right now. So I'm going to have that in the next video. It's going to be the story about why the embedded photos on New York Times would have been a few months old, that sort of breaking news story we had yesterday. Well, as it turns out, that lines up with this person's theory that maybe Blake was threatening to go to the New York Times way earlier, and maybe they just didn't pull the trigger right away. But we'll get into that more in the next video, so stick around for that. Here we have Not Actually Golden, a TikToker, sharing the new timeline. They were supposed to meet a gag order a few days before Valentine's Day, but it's been moved up a week. Have a listen.
The judge entered an order, Judge Lyman entered an order, and said, hey, we're supposed to have this case management conference. Instead of having it on February 12th, let's have it on the 3rd. And by the way, we're going to talk about multiple things there. That's very common. In federal court, where you don't often get time in front of the judge, sometimes the judge says, let's have a scheduling hearing and we'll just talk about everything that's out there. So he said, we'll talk about scheduling, we'll also talk about consolidation, and we're also going to talk about publicity. That's the gag order stuff. Because it's federal court, there won't be any recording in there. No cameras, no phones. So we normally would have no idea what goes on in that hearing. We would only see the order that results from that hearing once it gets filed in the court's docket. But Justin Baldoni's people have actually filed a request with the judge to have a court reporter in that hearing, which is pretty standard. You usually want to have a court reporter in most live hearings in a case, who literally a stenographer who takes down everything that is said. I read that as they want to have a court reporter there. They can then get a transcript of that hearing, and they would then release the transcript of that hearing to the public, which would be real interesting.
All right, so there it is. And thank you so much. You can go follow her for all these updates. I mean, so many great people giving great updates here, and we'd love to just highlight them all. Not Actually Golden on TikTok. So great stuff. Yeah, look, I mean, I won't be there for this. I said I'll be there for the trial if we hit 100,000 subscribers. This isn't the trial. This is a pre-trial motion. The trial set for next year. But we did hit our 100,000 subs. Again, I'm going to save that for the end of this episode. But I want you guys to know a little bit more about me. We got about 20,000 new subscribers just in the last week or two, which is an insane amount. My channel has been around for over a decade, but didn't start making any money until about 4 years ago. And now I've been able to start a family, get married, pay for the wedding. My wife no longer has to work. We have an 8-month-old. All of this to say, things have been good on the channel, and it's thanks to you guys. It's thanks to those that have been with us since the bookshelf days, where I had a tiny bookshelf I recorded on in our tiny 600 square foot rent-controlled apartment, to now us buying our first home and trying to, live a life of positivity and share the news and bring joy to people. I don't know, whatever the hell we're doing. But the point of what I'm trying to say is, as we continue to cover this, there are so many new people here that don't know about JFC. JFC stands for Justice for Clayton. It's a community that sprung up out of nowhere when Bachelor Clayton Echard was accused of being the father of somebody's unborn twins. And if you've never heard this story and you're new, it involved me getting basically sued for harassment. She dropped the lawsuit, but this person who was faking being pregnant called the FBI on me. Has still currently threatening me with $120 million defamation lawsuit, all because I helped expose that she lied about her HCG levels, and she lied about, putting a Fiverr. We found a Fiverr logo on an ultrasound. I know this might sound crazy. I'm working on a one-man show to describe it all. If you thought Baby Reindeer was nuts, this is way crazier. I say all of that because the lady who accused Bachelor Clayton Echard of being the father of her unborn twins actually lost in an evidentiary hearing on June 10th of 2024. We were there in Arizona reporting live, thanks to our audience, and she basically now has to pay his $150,000 in legal expenses, but she's filing an appeal, and they say if they lose the appeal, they'll end up filing in Supreme Court. I know it's a lot of legalese for those that don't follow. What's interesting, though, is that the judge there recommended that this accuser of Clayton Echard, her name's Laura Owens, they recommended that the Maricopa County prosecutor investigator, that investigation is still happening, but here she is sort of wondering if this community of people following her clear fraud is about to leave her alone. Quick answer, no. But here is a post from Justice for Clayton Official. If you want to follow more about this case, they have all the information. She wore a baby bump to one of the court hearings. She was still rail skinny, riding horses at horse meets. Her attorney has tried to say he's going to take my home away when my wife was 8.5 months pregnant. It's absolutely batshit for all the new people out there. Trust me when I say that. Here's the update. This is Laura Owens, the lady who faked ovarian cancer, which we proved after raising money to get a forensic expert to verify the metadata in the laptop. She also faked stole ultrasounds from people and things like that. But either way, here's the update.
There's maybe an end in sight. And I think, like we talked about, it seems like JFC is kind of losing it a little bit. And I think that the people who are kind of the diehard JFCers are always going to be that way. But I think you have a lot of people dropping out too. And
we're still here. All right, so that's your update on that. Now, we will continue to share news. I just don't want to give her or her attorney any extra of my time as we've got bigger fish to fry right now. But we will be giving those new people updates on this wild and crazy case, and I will be sharing my story with live audiences, TED Talk style, because it is absolutely wild. All right, let's do a quick reset and go to this story from ABC World News. Are you a fan of art? Do you love Le Louvre? Well, it looks like the Mona Lisa might be moving for a few months. Have a listen.
Tonight here, moving the Mona Lisa. Tonight, the Mona Lisa, perhaps the most famous painting in the world, and her future. The masterpiece by Leonardo da Vinci, painted in the early 1500s. One of the most famous attractions in Paris at the Louvre.
And by the way, I went to go see it. I'm sorry. I mean, wasn't really moved by it. It just wasn't for me. I don't know. It was overhyped, I guess.
Public appearance of Mona Lisa.
Few remember the painting traveled to the U.S. in 1962 when JFK was president.
We in the United States are grateful for this loan.
At the National Gallery of Art.
Nearly 10,000 people filed by Mona Lisa the first day.
Tonight, amid word of deteriorating conditions inside the Louvre, there is talk by some in Italy that the Mona Lisa should be brought there. It all started with an internal memo from the Louvre's president leaked to a French newspaper concerned about the conditions at this centuries-old museum.
By the way, how about all these stupid people taking photos of the painting? Oh my gosh, I just hate it. The photos should be banned from the museum. What are you going to do? Take a close-up of the statue of David's crotch? Like what? You know what I mean? Like, who are you showing that to after?
Some Italian authorities then calling on the Mona Lisa to be brought to Italy, saying, quote, "We are ready to host the Mona Lisa." But today, French President Emmanuel Macron with a different plan. Going before cameras right in front of the Mona Lisa, announcing a massive renovation and a new entrance inside the Louvre.
All right, so they're going to redo the Louvre. All right, love it or list it. They're going to flip it. They're going to get Chip and Joanna over there to do some mid-century modern. I don't know what's going on. Either way, I'm telling you right now, this is ripe for theft. Be careful where you put this thing. You ever be like where your keys are at? You're like, where did we put that Mona Lisa? All right, here's a fun one for you. Fox 5 Atlanta has a new study came out regarding which child grows up to be better than their siblings. Let's have a listen.
Well, a new study claims one child grows up to be better than their siblings, and it's the middle child. Firstborn children have been stereotyped to be assertive, while some consider the youngest child to be spoiled. But on a test examining personality traits, middle children scored the highest on honesty, humility, and agreeableness. So what do you think, and where do you land in the order? Let us know in the comments.
Well, there you have it, Chase. That's my older sister. Now you know the truth. Look, the middle child's agreeable. You know why? Because we always have to go get the clicker. Well, we didn't even have a clicker growing up. The clicker was me going to the TV and trying to adjust the bunny ears because we didn't have cable. And the TV was in the basement, which growing up in coastal New England means I have mold all in my lungs because all the blankets were damp because of the humidity. Anyway, it's a whole story. But either way, very interesting report that's going to definitely be fun to pull out for Thanksgiving. In other news, this is a tough one. ABC World News is reporting FDA is doing a recall on potato chips.
The FDA upgrading its recall of certain Lay's chips to its highest risk level. It involves 6,000 13-ounce bags of Lay's potato chips because they may contain undisclosed milk in the ingredients, potentially dangerous to people with severe milk allergies. The bags were sold in Oregon and Washington State.
Okay, I have a solution. Can I give a solution to the bags of potato chips that accidentally have a little bit of milk in them? Why don't you just take the potato chips and put them in the milk section? Okay? Just jam them right between the cartons of milk. That way, anybody who's messing around in that area can have some sweet potato chips. Mark them half off, right? Geez, sometimes I think I'm literally too smart for this world that we're in. All right, let's go to our final story of the day. Oh, this is going to make your blood boil. Here's a bunch of rich people. Again, it's a Fox News story. I don't care if it's Fox News or CNN. It doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you are on. Here's a Fox News story where they're laughing at federal employees who may lose their job, discussing the lack of child care, because they'll have to go back to work. This whole story comes out because there was a sort of buyout program where Trump said, hey, if you don't want to go back to work, you can just buy out and we'll just not hire, we're going to be cutting jobs. Rather than fire you, you're just allowed to be bought out and then you won't work anymore because they want everyone to go back to their jobs, in person. And some people that are federal employees are like, well, the closest job, the closest location is 50 minutes away, or I don't even have a home base. There's a lot of people that are up in the air. But then there's moms and dads that work at home and they watch their baby, kind of like we do here, that say we can't go back to work. Here's the lack of empathy from Fox Business.
I've already seen a lot of these federal workers on social media posting about they're crying, they're upset. I'm going to have to get child care. Oh, okay, sorry.
Well, by the way, that's a real thing.
I understand.
And they do need child care.
And then someone says, that's a real thing. They do need childcare. Could you imagine? Boo-hoo! These moms are going to have to go to work and do something with their kids. And we saw J.D. Vance say, well, we don't need universal childcare. You can just get your grandparents to watch your kids. I mean, the amount of privilege that certain people have that can't realize they started on third base, but they thought they hit a triple. And they think that other people just have it that easy. There's so many people that have jobs where their kids are literally under the desk hanging out. I remember with my single mom going to conferences because she was selling water. She was selling bottled water. They sell those jugs of water like Poland Springs or whatever. And I would have to go to the conference with my sister, my older sister, although we were Irish twins, just 11 months apart. Go you, Mom. And we would have to hang out all day long. Wouldn't it have been nice if there was childcare to bring me to so my mom could do her dang job? This is one of those things, just like Medicare for all, that you will not change my opinion on, that there's a better way to live in such a wealthy country where we can take care of others. Now, folks, I wanted to go to our final story of the day, which is, I actually got this really nice thing for those watching on YouTube. My wife left this on my Rodecaster, my audio equipment. It's a $100,000 bar, which I can't eat because I've given up sugar. The last 3 weeks I haven't had sugar and lost 10 pounds. Isn't that wild? I had to do a cleanse after the new year. 100K, such an achievement. You deserve it, babe. So proud of you. Some of you guys are new here and don't know too much about me, but we just hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Like I said, there was a time I remember when we had our big 10-hour live stream when we hit 10,000 subscribers. And I remember when we hit 50,000. And to be quite honest, we got to 60,000 really fast. And then the last couple of years, we kind of flatlined, because we kind of got stuck in our niche and we've tried to break out, but YouTube can make it very challenging with the click-through rate and all the different things. It's very hard to grow on YouTube. There's a lot of competition out there. And I've continued to grow and try new things and buy the neon light and get this gadget and cut my hair and do that and change my rattly voice and whatnot. And I just have to say, for those that have stuck around with me, I don't need the 100,000. There's like 1,000 of you guys that have been with me for a long time. People will text me, hey, Dave, I've been here since 15,000. I came at 70,000. 20,000 of you guys came this week. The point of what I'm trying to say is, as I record this at midnight, Wednesday night, and I, have a very intense recording schedule along with having an 8-month-old son here at the home. As I record this, I am brimming with gratitude. Gratitude and happiness go hand in hand. Usually people that are very grateful for what they have are also very happy. And also gratitude begets abundance. When you're happy for what you have, even if you don't have much, when you focus on those things that you're happy for, you expand that. And the world is yours. Your empire is limitless when you are happy where you live. And I say all this because we all start somewhere. And for those that have been around for a long time, you might remember when I was driving Uber and trying to get by as an Uber driver while I was doing stand-up comedy at night and waking up at 4 a.m. to go get the morning rush hour Uber drivers to the airport. And then I was cleaning, God knows what kind of vomit out of my car when some quinceañera got in the back seat and vomited everywhere at 2 a.m. picking them up. You know what I mean? Coked out dudes, sex workers, everybody. I've driven everybody driving Uber. Thousands and thousands of rides. I drove until a car ran me over on a Monday morning when I was happy as a clam with my cup of coffee because the Patriots won the day before, and I got to listen to sports talk radio, which was nice to cut up my day when I was alone in my car all day. The point of what I'm saying is I'm trying to illustrate to you out there, for those that might not have a rudder or know which direction you're going in, pursue a life that brings you happiness. Find a way to work in a company or for yourself in a way that brings happiness to you. That's something you love to do. And just really try to stick to those moments of gratitude, even though it's a real hard time out there trying to find your own path. I understand. I'm an old millennial. I came out of the business school when times were not looking good with the housing bubble, and my generation has been effed when it comes to stuff like that. And with all that said, I've kind of found my own path here. And so to hit 100,000 subscribers yesterday while I was in a parking lot, I'm going to post this on Instagram. I was in a parking lot with my wife and 8-month-old because we were going to get pho, or as the white people call it, pho. Great pho place here in Tennessee. I was getting Penang curry. Unbelievable. But I was in the parking lot and it happened right then and there. I thought this would have happened weeks from now, months from now. We were saying maybe this will happen before my 40th birthday in May. And then this week, thousands of people flooded my channel, and I just am here to say thank you guys. If you're still listening, thank you. It was a long road to 100,000. Maybe it'll be a quicker road to 1 million. Either way, I will have a special 100,000 subscriber live stream. My parents are visiting tomorrow, so that it won't be until sometime next week. But I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for tolerating me, for being along with me in this ride. I might not be in Uber anymore, but when I was an Uber driver, I was always talking to my guests. I know, super annoying, super annoying. But I was talking to my guests, telling them about the day's news. And it's kind of like what we get to do right now. All right, thanks so much. We'll be back with more content coming next. I'm Dave Neal. This is The Rush.